targeting and catching bass on offshore structures is really an outstanding pattern to exploit. And a lot of guys really shy away from, fishing offshore because it takes a lot of time, because they're not really sure how to do it, and really the complexities of really targeting and catching and locating fish offshore. But there's a few little techniques and tips that I'm going to share with you that will really make this a whole lot easier the next time you get out there and you want to get off the bank and catch a few more fish. So the first thing is it's really a three-step process that I have for being able to figure out exactly where this cover is and how to most effectively fish it. The first thing is how I set my sonar up. Now, I'm assuming that we're all going to be using a sonar that has a mapping feature, but you don't really need that, as you'll see when I get into the second step. But if I'm going to use a mapping system on my sonar, the first thing that I want to do is make sure that I have this zoomed all the way into its full capacity. I want to zoom in all the way as far as I can, because this is just going to give me a much better look at the bottom, and it's going to be more pinpoint accuracy as I'm looking at these little offshore places. Because a lot of times when you're fishing offshore, and one of the things I like to look at is a very small piece of structure or a very subtle change in the bottom from soft to hard bottom. These a lot of times are keys to catching fish. So number one is zoom your sonar chart screen all the way into its max capacity. That way when you put your waypoint, or finally put your waypoint on that spot, you'll have a great reference point of where it is. The second thing, and this is probably the most important, is I always do this regardless of what type of sonar that I'm fishing. And for you guys that don't have mapping capabilities on your sonar, this is a great way to be able to find the place that you're fishing, and actually get back to it too. And you might want to take some notes when you're doing this. It's probably a good thing as well. And that's triangulation. And what I'm going to try to do as I'm idling around, and before I put my waypoint on this spot, as I'm idling around and looking at this place, I'm going to get, after going back and forth several times, I'm going to get 3 spots. And it may be a combination of things. It may be something that's up ahead of me, like a boat dock or a point or a tree or whatever it might be. And I'm going to get fixated. As soon as I drive over that place that I actually want to fish, I'm going to pick a spot in front of me, and then I'm going to make a swing with the boat and turn around, and I'm going to pick another spot either to the left or the right. And I'm going to try to pick 3 spots that I can line up on, that I know exactly where this underwater place that I want to fish is. And that's called triangulation. So not only does that give me a visual when I'm actually fishing, but it helps me, when I want to come back and fish that spot at a later date, I've got those 3 reference points. Okay, I know I need to line up with this boat dock and this tree and this point, and this place is right here. And then that kind of correlates to the waypoint that I've left. So those 2 things are really, really important. And that helps quite a bit too if you have sonar that does not have mapping. That way you can have a visual on this spot, and that's why it's a good idea to write this down as well. Write down those 3 spots, maybe even draw yourself a little diagram that you can correlate with the map. So those 2 things really, really help. And the third thing is, an invaluable tool for fishing offshore structure has to be a marker buoy. And one thing I see a lot of guys do is they're going to take their marker buoy and they're going to throw it where they want to fish, or where the actual spot is where the bass are located. I don't do that. What I'd rather do is take this marker buoy, once I have my GPS waypoint on the spot, I also have my triangulation done, is I'm going to take this marker buoy and I'm going to drop it where I need my boat to be. That way I know, if I start catching some fish and the wind's blowing or whatever, and I happen to drift off that spot, I can get back right to that marker buoy and be able to line up again and make another cast. Because a lot of times you catch these fish very, very quick, and being able to stay on that spot right in line, having the marker buoy right where the front of my boat needs to be, so I can line up again quickly, really helps me save a lot of time when targeting offshore structure. So those are the simple little tips that you can use next time you get off the bank and try to catch some fish on isolated pieces of cover. I'm Mike DelVisco. I'll see you on the water. And for more bass fishing info, log on to FINS'nTALES.com or like them on Facebook. Fins and Tales, your hotspot for bass fishing stories, videos, people, places, events, how-tos, product reviews, and so much more.